Why Good People Die Early. A Mahabharata story. My dear friends, welcome back to EnglishStoryMaster. Please share and subscribe to our channel. Today, I will tell you a deep, emotional, and thought-provoking story. A story that will make you question life, destiny, and the way the world works. It is based on an incident from the great Indian epic, the Mahabharata. And it tries to answer one of the hardest questions of life. Why do good people die early? This story will take you through the journey of wisdom, sorrow, and divine truth. So sit back, relax, and listen carefully, because this story will stay with you forever. A long time ago, after the great war of Kurukshetra, peace returned to the land. The Pandavas ruled the kingdom of Hastinapura with justice and kindness. But even in peace, there were questions in their hearts. So many great warriors had died: Bhishma, Drona, Abhimanyu, Kurukshetra, and Karna. Some of them were noble, some were sinners, and some were simply victims of fate. One evening, Yudhishthira, the eldest of the Pandavas, sat silently near the river Ganga. The sunset painted the sky in shades of gold and red, but his heart was heavy. He whispered, "Why, Lord, do good people suffer and die early?" He thought of Abhimanyu, brave, kind, and pure-hearted, who died so young in the Chakravyuha. He thought of Karna, generous and noble, who was cursed and misunderstood till his last breath. And he thought of Bhishma, who lived long, but suffered more than anyone else. Why does life seem unfair? Why do the kind leave early and the cruel live long? These thoughts troubled him deeply. As Yudhishthira sat lost in thought, a soft breeze touched his face. And from the stillness of the river, a divine figure appeared. It was Lord Krishna. His eyes were calm, filled with both compassion and mystery. "Dharmaraja," Krishna said softly, "your heart is heavy again." Yudhishthira bowed deeply. "Yes, Madhava," he said. "My mind is restless. I cannot understand this world. Why do the good die early? Why are the noble punished and the wicked seem to prosper?" Krishna smiled gently. "Ah, Yudhishthira," he said, "this is a question that even the gods ponder. But since you seek the truth, let me tell you a story. A story that was once told by Lord Shiva himself." Yudhishthira looked up, his eyes full of curiosity. And Krishna began his divine tale. Many ages ago, in a faraway forest lived a sage named Gautama. He was pure of heart, truthful, and devoted to meditation. Animals loved him. The trees bent towards him as if blessing his prayers. The gods smiled upon him. But one day, a cruel demon entered that forest. His name was Kalmasura. He brought fear, fire, and darkness. He destroyed villages, killed animals, and mocked the gods. When sage Gautama saw this, he did not become angry. He closed his eyes and prayed for peace. He wished that the demon would change his ways. But the demon laughed at him. "You fool," said Kalmasura. Your prayers are weak. I am stronger than your gods." Still, Gautama remained calm. He continued his prayers. And then, one night, Lord Shiva appeared before him. "Gautama," Shiva said, "you have asked not for power, not for wealth, but for peace. For that, I bless you." But Gautama bowed and said, "Lord, please forgive this demon. Let him understand the pain he causes. Do not destroy him." Shiva smiled. "Your compassion is greater than your strength, O sage. But remember, when goodness shines too brightly, darkness grows restless." And with that, Shiva disappeared. Krishna looked at Yudhishthira and said gently, "The story of sage Gautama teaches a truth that few can see. Goodness is light, Yudhishthira, and light burns bright, but it also burns fast. The flame that gives warmth to the world often consumes itself too soon." Yudhishthira listened silently, his eyes filled with tears. Krishna continued, "You ask why good people die early. The answer is not punishment, but completion. When a soul comes to earth to spread kindness, love, and truth, it has a divine purpose. Once that purpose is fulfilled, the body is no longer needed. The soul returns to the source pure, free, and peaceful." Yudhishthira whispered, "Then why does the world feel empty without them?" Krishna smiled sadly. "Because you see the absence of their body, not the presence of their energy. The good never truly die. They become part of the air you breathe, the rain that falls, the smile of a child. Their energy spreads like fragrance unseen, yet everywhere." Then Krishna told him about Abhimanyu. Remember Abhimanyu, the son of Arjuna? He was born with a warrior's spirit and a child's heart. Even before he was born, he listened to the secrets of battle inside his mother's womb. He knew how to enter the Chakravyuha, but not how to come out. Yet, when the moment came, he did not step back. He fought alone against many, for the sake of Dharma. Yudhishthira closed his eyes, remembering the young warrior's face. Krishna spoke softly. Abhimanyu's life was like a meteor, short but brilliant. He came to remind the world that courage is not measured by years lived, but by the truth you stand for. Had he lived long, he might have become a king, but by dying young, he became immortal. His name is spoken even today, not as a victim, but as a hero. Yudhishthira asked, "But what of Karna, Krishna? He was kind, generous, and brave. Why was his life so unfair?" Krishna nodded slowly. Karna was the sun's son, born with divine light. But he was bound by karma from past lives, karma of pride and attachment. Still, he chose charity over hatred, truth over comfort, and loyalty over gain. His pain was the price of his greatness. Yudhishthira, Krishna said, "Life is not a reward or punishment. It is a journey of the soul through many forms and lifetimes. When a good soul dies early, it is not because God is unjust. It is because that soul has finished its lesson and earned its rest. The bad may live long, not as a blessing but as an opportunity to repent, to learn, to suffer, and to change. Yudhishthira looked down at the river and saw his own reflection. The water moved softly, breaking his image into 1,000 pieces. Krishna continued, "Look at this river, my friend. When the sun rises, the water shines bright. But as the sun sets, the light disappears not because the river is gone, but because the sun has moved on. So too with souls. They move to another realm, another light, another purpose." Yudhishthira nodded slowly. He understood now, but his heart still ached. Krishna placed his hand on his shoulder. "Pain is not your enemy, Yudhishthira. Pain is the teacher that makes wisdom possible. When you lose a good person, don't ask why they left. Ask what they left behind." The sun had almost set. The sky turned orange, then deep purple. A cool breeze blew from the Ganga. Krishna and Yudhishthira sat in silence for a while. Finally, Krishna spoke again. "Do you remember Bhishma, the grandfather of the Kuru dynasty?" Yudhishthira nodded. "He was the purest soul I ever knew. Yet he suffered the most." Krishna smiled sadly. "Yes, Bhishma was a great soul born to protect the kingdom, to uphold his vow, and to teach Dharma. But even he had to face the law of karma." Yudhishthira listened closely. Krishna continued, "In a past life, Bhishma was a powerful king who used his strength to defeat many. He never killed without reason, but his pride was deep. So in this life, he was born to learn humility through pain. That is why his death was slow and peaceful on a bed of arrows, so that he could teach the world patience, forgiveness, and truth till his final breath." Yudhishthira bowed his head. He understood now that even the great suffer for a reason. Krishna said softly, "No soul escapes karma, Yudhishthira. Not you, not me, not the gods themselves. The universe is like a mirror. Whatever you send out returns to you. When you plant goodness, you harvest peace. When you plant greed and anger, you harvest sorrow." "But," Yudhishthira asked, "if the universe is so just, why do the wicked live long?" Krishna smiled. "Because they need time to repay their debts. Their long life is not a gift, it is a chance for correction. The good soul, on the other hand, has already learned its lesson. When its duty is done, God calls it home." "Think of a teacher," Krishna said. "When a student completes his test early, he hands over his paper and leaves the room. Does that mean he failed? No. It means he understood everything before the others. Good people are like that student. They finish their test of life sooner, and the divine allows them to rest." Yudhishthira looked at Krishna with wonder. "Then death is not an end?" Krishna shook his head slowly. "No, my friend. Death is a doorway, not a wall. The soul walks through it to reach the light. The wicked fear death, for they see darkness beyond. The righteous welcome it, for they see freedom beyond. the sound of temple bells rose from afar. The night had fallen softly over Hastinapura. Krishna's voice was calm and steady like the river. "Remember, Yudhishthira," he said, "God never punishes goodness. He preserves it by transforming it. When a lotus blooms, its fragrance cannot stay forever in the pond. The sun takes it away to spread its scent through the wind. So too with good souls. They do not die, they spread." Tears rolled down Yudhishthira's eyes. He looked up at the stars and felt that each one was a departed soul, shining for those left behind. Krishna placed his hand on his shoulder again. "Do you feel their light, Dharmaraja?" Yudhishthira nodded slowly. "Yes, Madhava, I feel it. I understand now. Good people do not leave us. They just move ahead of us." The night was deep. The moon shone brightly over the river. The sound of flowing water echoed like a divine song. Yudhishthira sat quietly, his mind still, his heart light. But Krishna had more to say. "Yudhishthira," Krishna began, "do you know how karma truly works? It is not a punishment. It is not a reward. It is balance. When you throw a stone into a lake, ripples spread out. Good or bad, those ripples will always return to the shore. So too are your actions. They travel through time, touching lives, and eventually come back to you. Sometimes," Krishna said, "a good soul takes birth to clear old ripples. The pain they face in this life is not new punishment, but old balance. They accept suffering with grace, and in doing so, they purify generations. Have you seen rain, Yudhishthira?" "Yes, Lord," Yudhishthira replied. "The dark clouds cry so the world may live." "Exactly," Krishna smiled. "The good souls are like those clouds. They cry, they suffer, they sacrifice not because they are weak, but because their tears give life to others. Their journey may be short, but their impact lasts forever. When they leave the world, they don't take anything. They leave behind love, lessons, and light. Yudhishthira, the soul of a good man is like a guest in this world. He comes, spreads joy, and leaves before the feast is over. Only the host stays back to clean up the mess that is the soul still learning." Yudhishthira smiled through his tears. He finally understood. He looked at Krishna and said, "Madhava, now I see. Good people die early not because they are punished, but because they are complete." Krishna nodded softly. "Yes, my friend. They are complete. Their story is written. Their role is done." "Do you remember Abhimanyu's smile?" Krishna asked. Yudhishthira nodded. That smile was not of fear. It was of fulfillment. He came to show courage to the world, and he did. Now he rests in the arms of eternity. Every time a good soul leaves, people cry. But in heaven there is celebration, because another light has returned home. The wind grew gentle. The stars shimmered above the holy river. Yudhishthira looked up and said, "Madhava, When I die, I want to go where they have gone." Krishna smiled with warmth. "You will, my friend. When your dharma is complete, the gates will open." Then Krishna stood up. He looked at the moon and said, "The world will always ask why good people die early. But the wise will answer, because they lived completely. They did what others take lifetimes to learn. They loved without fear, gave without limits, and forgave without pride. And that, Yudhishthira, is the highest form of life." Krishna turned to go, but his voice echoed in the night air. "Remember, my friend, the good never die. They just become the light that guides the rest of us." The river flowed on. The stars glowed brighter. And Yudhishthira sat there, silent, peaceful, watching the reflection of the heavens in the Ganga. He finally understood. Goodness is not measured by how long you live, but by how deeply you touch the hearts of others. So, my dear friends, when you lose someone good, don't say, "They died too early." Say, "They lived beautifully," because their story never ends. It continues in your kindness, your truth, your love. This is the lesson of the Mahabharata. This is the wisdom of Krishna, and this is the truth of life. Good people don't die early. They simply return home early.